Maryanne with Courageous Communication and the Influential Nonprofit, your favorite podcast host, or hopefully your favorite podcast host. If you're new to me, I work with nonprofit leaders to master the art of influence so they can ask for and receive anything they want, need, and deserve without feeling rejected, ineffective, or pushy. And that includes money. And I'm going to talk about one of the biggest issues, problems, frustrations that I see with nonprofit leaders, executive directors, CEOs, directors of development, which is getting your board to be a true partner with you in philanthropy. And I hear it all the time. Well, I ask them to, give me names. They don't give me names. I ask them to, set meetings. They don't do that. I just want them to open some doors for me. And they don't seem to want to do that. They say they're going to do it, but they don't do it. I give them training to do it. They still don't do it. And so from your end, if you're inside the organization, this can cause resentment, right? These people are supposed to be helping you. And how much more money could you raise more easily if you had these folks really as true partners to you? And so now there's like some resentment because the frustration that you have, that's frustration is anger unexpressed. So you're angry, and it's okay to be angry because you really need the help. And you really want the help, and that's what they're there for. And they're not helping in a way that's helpful. Like sometimes they help in a way that's not helpful. You know what I'm saying? And that causes resentment. And now you're feeling resentful towards them. So that undercurrent of feelings is really important and really important to tap into because our brains, our subconscious is so super smart and it can read that. It can read that. So from the board perspective, and this is what I've learned being on boards and working with board members, is it feels like pressure. They talk, I hear the word pressure all the time. There's pressure to give you names, but then what are you going to do with these names? They don't want their friends pitched and sold. If I ask somebody for money and they say no, how's that going to make me feel? What if I screw it up? What if I say the wrong thing? That's a big one. What if I say I don't know what to say? Or you want them to approach friends and colleagues, but what if the friends and colleagues say no? Now there's an uncomfortable dynamic, or there could be an uncomfortable dynamic. And now they feel like a disappointment. So they know they're supposed to show up in a certain way and they're not doing it. So now there's disappointment. So you have resentment on one side and disappointment, or feeling ineffective on the other side. And feeling ineffective really can stir up feelings of like guilt and shame, imposter syndrome, all that stuff. Like, I don't understand. I want to do a good job. I want to do this. Why aren't I doing it? Sometimes even to the point of, hey, you're going to call them and say, hey, will you call these people and thank them? And they don't do that. You're like, okay, that's the easiest thing. You're not even asking for anything and they're still not doing it. And it's part of the pressure. So instead of wanting the pressure to go away or wanting to work around the pressure, we have to dive into the pressure and really pick it apart and see what it looks like. And this is what I've been working on. And I've had amazing success with what I've been doing. And I want to share it with you. And if you want to learn more about, if, at the end of this, you're like, I'd love to talk to you about this, Maryanne, I am going to put a link in the show notes directly to my calendar, 15-minute quickie intro call. And I can get the short story on your situation. If I think I can help, I will. And if not, I can at least direct you to somebody who can. No pressure. Like it's totally fine. I talk about releasing the outcome all the time, whatever, I have no attachment to these calls, just so you know. Let's go into this a little bit because I feel like if this could be you, imagine if this could be you, okay? You have a board that's feeding you leads every month, that's making connections in the community and feeding you leads. If your board could make one new connection a month or strengthen an existing connection, right? Imagine if you had 15 people on your board and every month you're getting 15 leads over a year. Like, okay, now I have to do math, but that's like what, 170 something leads. Please do the math. It's a lot. Okay. That's a 15-person board. What if you had more people on your board? And that would be ideal. And also it's been, I think, elusive. And the reason I think it's elusive is because we're not giving boards enough direction into how to connect with people. And we're not releasing the outcome for them, relieving the pressure for them. And that pressure is keeping them stagnant. And if you could create a scenario where they felt comfortable having at least one connection a month, maybe even two, imagine what that could drive to your organization. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? A year could be coming into you because of the doors they're consistently opening. And this is about consistency, about building systems inside your organization that these things now become habit. They are standard practice, right? That we just do on and on. And so I created a program where I train boards on how to have connection conversations, how to have these conversations to enroll people in your nonprofit or let them go. Either way is totally fine, right? Because in influence, the more I want somebody to do something, the less likely they are to do it. The more I give the person their own decision-making power, the more likely they are to decide what I want. One day I'll tell you how this works around my house, but let me tell you, one of the biggest lessons I've learned is with my husband is to let go of something, like whatever I want to have happen. When I let go of that happening, he doesn't feel the pressure, even though I have no intention of pressuring him. It's just something I want to have happen. He will push back. And then if I let go, like, you know what, that's going to happen when it happens, and I release it, it starts happening. So this works in any aspect of your life. But let's get back to the board. Okay, we need 3 things to create lasting, sustainable change. We have to address 3 different things. The first is our thoughts and feelings. If we have icky thoughts and feelings about fundraising, if we have misperceptions about what it means to fundraise, and everybody thinks fundraising is asking for money, and that's one teeny, teeny, tiny part of it, but it's really not that big of a part of it. It's a very small part of it. People tend to overemphasize the ask because that's the part that stresses them out the most. If they think they don't like fundraising, or they're not good at fundraising, or they feel pressured by fundraising, it activates all kinds of weird stuff in it. That's their thoughts and feelings. We're going to have to address those. Now, when I told you I was doing these sessions, like I would go to boards and I'd like fire them up for a couple hours, I was dealing with thoughts and feelings. I was shifting their thoughts and feelings. But what I realized is that really wasn't moving the needle because I was missing the other 2 pieces. The other 2 pieces are what we do. So what actions are we going to take, and how do we feel about those actions? That goes back to perceptions. But what actions are we going to take? Like, what are we going to do exactly? How do I do it? What is the process of enrollment? What does that look like? Does that feel good to me? Again, thoughts and feelings, but I have to work on what is it exactly I want people to do. The third thing is what we have. So it's what we think and feel, what we do, and what we have. What we have is like the structure, the system of accountability, all of those things. We need a system of accountability. And anytime somebody says, my board's not doing something, and I'll say, what system of accountability do you have? And they're like, none. Well, then there you go. Like we have to have those 3 elements. We have to address all 3 elements for there to be systemic change. You have to deal with their thoughts and feelings. So I was doing a board training a couple of years ago, and I do this matrix where people tell me what they love and they're great at, what they like and they're good at. And they go down the thing, and like, oh, I love and I'm great at talking about our organization, bringing people on tours, inviting people to volunteer. And what do I hate? Fundraising. Okay, like all of those things, the tours, the talking, the invite, that's all part of fundraising, right? That's all part of making connections, but they didn't see themselves as supporting fundraising. So that was a misperception. Then the behavior, I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure what to say. I'm afraid to get it wrong. I don't know how to or I get upset when people say no. I don't know how to deal with that. So that's the behavior. And then we have the structure, the system of accountability. What do we commit to do? All right. And we need all of these 3 things. So let me tell you what this can look like. What this can look like is working with your board to shift their focus away from the close, the pitch, the pressure, the convincing, which is not how we work, right? We cannot make somebody care. Like, I can relieve them of that pressure. You do not need to convince people to care. That is not your job, and it just doesn't happen. and shift their focus to releasing the outcome and releasing the pressure of getting it right or getting the gift. Just allowing them all the tools that I teach, releasing the outcome, right? I'm not tied to any outcome, right? The more I want something, the less likely I am to have it. So it's like, it's okay. Whatever happens is okay. It's already perfect, right? And then also, it's not about talking or pitching. It's about listening. It's about understanding for people for who they are, who they want to be, like how they want to contribute to the organization. And I'm going to tell you, I created a training and I'm hot for this thing because it works. And I sort of took all these pieces of things that I was doing and I kind of put them together. And oh my gosh, it's been amazing. So let me show you what it looks like. It's a 5-step process. Okay. Now here's the thing. Before I go into that, I want to say this. This isn't for everybody. All right. If I work with boards that want to get better, I can't make a board that's not performing well want to perform better. I can figure out what's going on. I can tap into that a little bit. Unless they say, yes, we want to get better. We want to be more effective. We want to lead more effectively and serve more effectively. I'm in. And they're willing to invest some time and some money into learning this skill. All right. That is just the bottom line. I can't condense it. I can't do it in 2 hours. I can't turn a yacht around on a dime. Okay. It takes some time and a little bit of money. So that's what I look for, and just willingness to be coached and willingness to learn and try on a new way of doing things, because it really is different than what we've been taught. And it's also way more effective. And also, it's so much easier and joyful when you don't have to pitch or close somebody. You can just have an honest, meaningful conversation. And if that leads to a gift, great. If not, that's okay too, because you made a great connection. And no matter what happens, those connections will only serve you well and lead you to more connections. If you make people feel pressured or uncomfortable, they're not going to refer you forward. They're not going to refer you on. But even if your organization wasn't for them, they're still going to be comfortable referring you because they know you're making a meaningful conversation and an honest match. You're not just trying to fit them into a system so you can get money off of them. And that is what I teach them to do. So here's what happens. We do a prep call. The prep call is just so I can tap into 2 things. One, what their vision, how do they want to serve? What does that service look like? How do they want to show up as a board member? Because I need a vision, right? Because the vision then tells me where I can't get you somewhere unless I know where you want to go. The second is the barriers. What are the things that are keeping you from getting in the way of that vision? And a lot of times it's exactly what I told you. I'm afraid I'm going to say the wrong thing. I feel a lot of pressure. I don't know when to ask. I don't know how much to ask for. Spoiler alert, your board really doesn't need to be asking for money, right? If they can generate the leads, then I know the development director who's a pro at that, or the AD who's a pro at that, can come behind them and make the offer and close the deal, So I don't see board members really in an asking capacity. Now, if that's something you need them to do, I will teach them how to do that. That is no problem. And also, one of the biggest ways you can relieve them of this is, hey, all you have to do is connect with people. You don't have to ask for money. So I look at what are all the barriers to participation, because that way I want to make sure that everything I give them addresses these barriers. And that's in the prep call. I have them do a little bit of prep work too, where they state the intentions for their experience and things like that. Now, the second piece is a 3-part training. So steps 3, 4, and 5, or 2, 3, and 4, sorry. 2, 3, and 4 are a 3-part training. First is when I shift the thinking, right, to all the things that I talk about all the time. Release the outcome. You don't have to pitch or sell, only listen. How to empathize and validate. How to find an opening. How to find the true connection and alignment between 2 people, between this person and the organization. And then how to let go, right? The ability to let go if it's not a fit. So I walk them through just the shifts in perception and introducing them to this new model. I let that sink in. Session 2 is I walk them through a step-by-step how to have a conversation. that's rooted in meaningful dialogue, and it always comes to an outcome, and that resolution could be, we're going to meet again, or that resolution could be, it was so great to meet you, I'd love to keep you on our mailing list if that's okay. Anything in between, right? So I teach them the exact model. I walk them through step by step how to do that and guide their concerns along the way. Step 4 of the training is we practice. So on the third training session, it's a practice session. I don't really give any new content. What we do is we split off and we have model conversations, and we come back and talk about it, what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it. Sometimes people get a little too into this and they feel like they have to walk through it like in this really hardcore way, that I allow them to feel into it and feel the flow of it and get comfortable with it. Now, between the third session and our wrap-up call, which is step 5, right? So step 1, intro call, step 3, 4, and 5 is a 3-part training. 2, 3, 4 is a 3-part training. Step 5 is the wrap-up call. So they pledge to go out and have one conversation in the community, one, based on this model. And then they come back and tell me how it feels, how it went, what they liked, what they didn't like. Because I'm going to tell you, once you start using this model and having conversations like this, it opens up the world to you, because it feels so good to make the connections. All the things that make them feel icky are gone, right? The pressure to close, to say the right thing, to all that. All they have to do is connect with someone in an honest, open way. And anytime you do that, it feels really good, no matter what the outcome is. And that's what I want for them. So they go out and they do that. They have a nice quick win. They get super excited because it feels really good. And we talk about it. That's the end of that training, that 5-part training. Now, it can work this way if you really want to turn your board into a lead generation machine. Then I can work with you long term for the next year. Because what happens at that final meeting is they pledge to do one of these meetings a month, and they commit to it. Yes, we can do one of these a month, a connection conversation. And then I work with them, because every organization is a little bit different, to develop a reporting out system. So how are they going to feed this information to the executive director or the director of philanthropy or development, so that everybody knows who they're in contact with and what's going on? And that's when they pledge. So now they're going to hold each other accountable. Now, what else can happen is, for the next year, I can also be there with them to hold them accountable, to make sure they're doing it, to provide additional training, to onboard any new board members in the system. And then also I just be there for coaching. So if they want to meet with me because they want to work through a specific thing, that way I am taking all of the board fundraising tasks off of an executive director or development director. I'm just going to work with them. And all you do is receive leads. That's all you do. And now you're going to create a board development machine, right? A fundraising machine. Now it's going to be part of your culture, because when somebody new comes on, like, oh, this is what we do, this is your commitment, you do one of these meetings a month, and we'll teach you exactly how to do it, no worries. I'm telling you, this is a game changer, and it's so good. It's so good. And you know what is fun for me? To see people go from hesitant to confident, to see them really embrace this style of sales, which is sales as service, sales as value, which is about only working in the best interest of the person in front of you. It feels so good to do it this way. This is the way I run my business. Okay. I release the outcome. I use the exact same techniques every single day, and I've gotten really, really good at them. And so, because I use them every single day, I have maybe 4 or 5 of these model conversations at least a week. I've done hundreds of them. So I'm really good at teaching and coaching people through their things, right? Now, here's the thing. If you're like, ooh, I'm not, maybe not be ready for that, that's totally okay. But at least you can start thinking about, right, how they think and feel, what I want them to do, and what we have, that accountability, and thinking through that 3-legged stool. Because chances are, if it's not working, you're only addressing one leg, and that's probably behavior. You're just telling them to do stuff. There's no dealing with barriers to participation or resistance. And there's no structure or system of accountability. That's pretty typical for me. So at least you understand that much. Now, if you're interested in having a training like this, there's two ways I do them. One is the prep call and the follow-up call are all on Zoom. If you want me, I can do a full day in person and walk through all 3 modules in a day, and then do the follow-up call online. Or if it works better, I can do it all virtual, and we break up and we do those all, it's all online, the prep call. And then we have 3 2-hour training sessions and then 1 follow-up call. The prep and follow-up call are like 45 minutes. And however it works for you works for me. If you do it at the end of a board meeting, I can be super flexible with my time because I want to be available at the times that they're comfortable being available. If you think it'll work better in person, we can do it in person. My trainings, any training that you do with me, is $6,000. That's just my standard price. And then if you want me to go there, there's a little bit of travel, but I'm in St. Louis and stuff's like really easy to get to because I'm in the center of the country. So most places, it's just like, I can get a lot of places in a 2-hour flight. Let's just put it like that. And if you don't think they can give you a full day, that's fine. You can break it up into these 3-hour sessions, in which case I would do it virtual. And that's kind of what that looks like. And then we do the wrap-up call. And the wrap-up call is because they come back from having these conversations and they're like so excited. And they just love having these conversations, like, wow, it can be this easy. Yes. And that's when they're all excited and they say, yeah, we can do this. I could do this once a month. Sure. Okay, so what's the system of accountability now? And I don't care what it looks like, just as long as they have one. Oh, are we going to report out at board meetings, or, like, how are you going to do that? And so once we put that in place, then I can back out. But if you still want some more support, I can absolutely provide that. As far as I can pop in a couple times a year to do additional trainings, or fine tune their skills. And then the other 2 parts of that are individual coaching. So I have the thing called office hours. So I would set aside certain time a month for your board that anybody wants to book a call with me just to go over their performance or whatever. I can totally, that's one of the things I do. And then the third piece is onboarding any additional people that come on the board during that year. And I'm going to tell you straight up, 100% that it takes a year. And this is what I believe in my program, the people that I coach, it takes a year. If you really, really want to do this, it's going to take a year, so, just a year of either having me support you, or a year of your focused intention of holding you, maybe with your ED or your board president, like really holding space and giving it a year. That's what it really takes to initiate long-term lasting change. And I know we wish it could be, hey, I'm going to have this person who's super inspiring come to my board meeting and that'll fix it. It doesn't. Like, that's why I stopped doing it, because it's not effective. But this is effective and it super works. So if you're interested, let me know. We can talk about it. And whatever you decide, of course, is totally okay. Either way, now you know what it takes to turn your board into lead generation machine. Deal with how they think and feel. Give them one thing to do, which is having one connection conversation a month, and hold them accountable for doing that. And then see where that takes you. Because if they could do that, imagine how many leads could be driving to you, and imagine what could happen. There's just so many things to imagine. All right, everybody, that is it for me on this episode of The Influential Nonprofit. Again, if you want to connect with me about this, I will have a link in the show notes that will take you directly to my calendar for a 15-minute quickie intro call. And I'm happy to dive into more of your situation and see if this is something that you all are ready for. And we'll see you next time on The Influential Nonprofit.